Hello, I am Nathan, and this is Thunder Up Talk. So today I wanted to talk about probably the biggest news in the NBA that we have going on right now. Fred VanVleet, the starting point guard for the Houston Rockets, just tore his ACL. So I want to talk about that, bring it all together, what that means for the Thunder, and then talk about a question that it kind of raised for me. So that's something I'm going to talk about here in just a little bit. Um, so yeah, we find out that Fred VanVleet tore his ACL practicing in the Bahamas. So that's not great. It's not great timing for the Rockets. They just signed him to a 2-year, $50 million contract. It's perfect timing for Fred, but not so great timing for the Houston Rockets. I actually think that this injury could be pretty devastating for the Rockets. Um, Fred VanVleet averaged 14 points a game, 5.5 assists per game, and they don't have a backup. They don't have a true backup. They have, I've heard people talk about Reed Shepherd. Not a big fan. He's small, doesn't really feel like a true point guard to me. Uh, I've heard people talk about Amin Thompson. Again, I love him and I think he'll improve. And if he does have some of the ball handling responsibilities, it'll definitely stretch him and he'll probably be better. But I don't think he's a true point guard either. And so I really think this is going to end up being not devastating, but it's going to be a really, really big deal. And the funniest thing that could happen is for Russell Westbrook to come back to Houston for a second go around, and of course, teammate with his old buddy Kevin Durant. Um, as a like fan, I don't know how I feel about that, him going back to the Rockets. But it would be a story. It'd be a nice little subplot, the OG Thunder players getting back together in Houston, and they'll still be pretty good. I as the as we're getting closer and closer to the beginning of the season, I was leaning toward the Denver Nuggets as being the second best team in the West, anyways. But this just solidifies it. I think the Houston Rockets definitely go down to three, and it may get murkier than that. They may go down to 4 or 5. The West is really, really tough this year. So, yeah, not great news for the Houston Rockets. For the Thunder, you know, to me, it just makes it where there's two teams in the top tier, and I think the Thunder are above the Denver Nuggets as well. But I think it's going to be those two in the Western Conference Finals, barring any injury. So with that, the question that kind of raised for me, I would consider Fred VanVleet their fourth best player. So maybe Sengun, KD, whatever order you want to call them, and then Amen, and then Fred coming in at fourth. So I was kind of curious if we were to lose our fourth best player, how far we could go into the playoffs. So obviously Shea, Jalen, Chet, in my opinion, are the clear cut three best players. Um, it gets a little complicated for me at four. Is it Lou Dort or is it Isaiah Hartenstein? I think it's so close that I'm going to kind of go down the road of each player. If I had to pick, I think I would lean Lou Dort as being the fourth best player. He shoots so well from three. He guards the best perimeter player night in, night out. However, there are some things that you could consider Isaiah Hartenstein as being the fourth best player. He actually averaged more points than uh, Lou Dort. Obviously, he gets the rebounds. And this doesn't really matter, but NBA 2K26, I think they give him a rating of 82. I think they give Lou Dort a rating of 81. So, nonetheless, it's really close. We're super lucky that we have to even think about or debate, argue about who our fourth best player is, just because we're so deep. But again, I just kind of wanted to talk it out um, and ask the question: could the Thunder win an NBA championship without Lou, or could the Thunder win an NBA championship without Isaiah Hartenstein. And I think it would be easier for the Thunder to win an NBA championship without Lou Dort, even though I give him the slight nudge as being a little bit better. And it's comes down to two players. It comes down to Cason Wallace, and it comes down to Alex Caruso. So one of those two guys would probably be plugged in into the starting lineup, and they may not be as effective throughout the entire season or the entire playoffs as Lou might be. They certainly probably wouldn't be quite as physical, and they're not nearly as strong. But I do see a scenario where the Thunder could would still win 58 plus games, most likely. Um, win the first couple of rounds pretty handily. And then I think we could still win an NBA championship. Now, without Isaiah Hartenstein, things get tricky to me because we we already lost Sorber. Who knows? He could have been great. And we immediately go from Isaiah Hartenstein to being our backup center to Jalen Williams being our backup center with a bunch of small ball lineups that would probably cause J Dub to guard up a little bit, which I don't love. It's just a little more physical. And we might see more guys like Kenrich Williams trying to just step in. And thinking about that, I think we would still make it to like a Western Conference Finals, like say against the Nuggets. I don't know that we would get out of it without a healthy Isaiah Hartenstein, just because he brings the defense, the physicality, the rebounding, all things that are extremely important in the playoffs. And it just comes down to the depth to me at that big man position. Um, the drop off from Isaiah Hartenstein to Jalen Williams, even though he's great and I love what he does, just defensively, he just can't compete like Isaiah Hartenstein does. Versus Cason Wallace, the combo of Cason Wallace and Alex Caruso instead of Lou Dort filling in those minutes, I think we could survive and ultimately still win the championship. So, um, anyways, I just wanted to talk a little bit about the Fred VanVleet injury, what I think that means for the Thunder and for the Houston Rockets, and um, just talk about the question about could we win without our fourth best player. Let me know if you think I got it right or wrong. And with that, I will talk to you later. Thunder up.